Hey, I need to ask you something a little uncomfortable. When did you last actually memorize something? Like, for real, without writing it down? Think about it. Phone numbers, birthdays, directions. You probably can't recall any of them anymore, right? And honestly, neither can I. But here's what's wild. We are not the first generation to worry about this. Not even close. This panic is ancient. Because the second a new technology showed up to help us think, someone always said, wait, is this making us dumber? Books, calculators, search engines, and now AI. Every single time the same panic. But what if the panic was wrong or only half right? Today's story isn't just about AI. It's about the long, strange history of humans outsourcing their own minds. And what happened each time. Okay, picture this. Ancient Greece. No smartphones, obviously. No books, barely. Almost all human knowledge lived entirely inside people's heads. There was this philosopher named Socrates. You've heard of him. Brilliant guy. And he had a very strong opinion about writing. Wait, Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, was angry about writing? Yes, and this is exactly where things get fascinating. In Plato's dialogue called Phaedrus, Socrates tells a fable about an Egyptian god named Theuth who invents the art of writing. Theuth brings his invention to King Thamus and says, "This will improve memory and make people wiser." Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? But King Thamus pushes back hard. He says, yeah, you've got it backwards. People will stop remembering from within themselves because of this tool. Instead of building real memory, writing would create only the appearance of knowledge. External marks replacing internal understanding. Sound familiar yet? Socrates agreed completely. Books can't answer back, he said. You ask a book a question and it just repeats itself forever, uselessly. And here's the most beautiful irony in all of intellectual history. Socrates never wrote a single word himself. He trusted only living conversation. So how do we know what Socrates thought? Because his student Plato completely ignored the rule and wrote it all down for us. So was Socrates right? Did writing actually destroy human memory? This is where the story gets its very first big, satisfying twist. Writing didn't destroy memory. It transformed it. Suddenly, knowledge didn't have to die with the person who held it. That changed everything. Laws could be written down. Contracts could be preserved. Stories could travel across centuries without anyone needing to perfectly memorize them. Then printing happened. Gutenberg's press around the 1440s. Think about the scale of what changed, and almost overnight. It's genuinely staggering. Before printing, Europe had maybe a few thousand handwritten manuscripts total. Just 50 years after Gutenberg, over 9 million printed books existed. 9 million books in 50 years. Information stopped being a rare, precious thing, accessible only to monks, scholars, and kings. But here's the real tension. Reading something isn't the same as truly understanding it. You can collect thousands of books and know almost nothing. Socrates' fear wasn't entirely wrong. That gap between reading and knowing was between performance and real understanding never went away. Sound familiar? But look at what books made possible. Science. Democracy. The Enlightenment. A world where ideas could outlive any single human mind entirely. Let me show you something. Try to multiply this. MMDCCX 7 times X sex Sir using Roman numerals. Go ahead. I'll wait. Not fun, right? This is how Europe was doing business for centuries. Then something quietly changed everything forever. Hindu-Arabic numerals. 0 through 9. Decimal place value. This system came from India, traveled through the medieval Islamic world, and arrived in Europe. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a total cognitive restructuring. Algebra became possible. Large-scale accounting became possible. Precise navigation became possible. The modern economy literally cannot exist without this cognitive tool. Then came the calculator. Blaise Pascal in 1642 built the first mechanical calculator to help his father handle overwhelming tax accounting. Extremely relatable motivation. By the 20th century, electronic calculators got small enough for desks, then pockets. Mental arithmetic became essentially optional for most everyday purposes. Did people who use calculators lose some mental arithmetic ability? Probably yes. But what did they gain? Time. Accuracy. and the capacity for more complex thinking. The engineers using calculators weren't doing less math, they were solving problems that would have been completely impossible for any unaided human brain. This is the pattern. Every cognitive tool trades one kind of ability for a different, often larger kind of capability. The exchange rate has generally been good. Real talk. Can you tell me your best friend's phone number right now from memory? Or your parents' number? Go ahead. No peeking. That's fine. Neither can I. Because we haven't needed to. Our phones hold those numbers. And researchers say this is completely normal human behavior. Cognitive scientists have a specific term for what we're doing: cognitive offloading. Using the external environment to reduce the mental effort of a task. Cognitive offloading isn't laziness, it's strategy. Your brain is constantly calculating, is it worth the mental energy to remember this internally or not? Research shows that the more cognitively demanding a task feels, the more likely people are to reach for external help. We naturally seek support when challenged. We've been doing this forever. Tying a string around your finger, writing a grocery list, leaving your keys by the door the night before. Studies confirm external tools like diaries, calendars, and reminder apps play a crucial role in helping people maintain functioning in everyday life. This is science, and this holds across all ages. A recent study found younger adults and older adults both rely overwhelmingly on external strategies for their everyday memory tasks. So here's the key idea. Outsourcing memory is not a modern failure or a sign of weakness. It has been the default human strategy for a very long time. Now we reach a moment that changed everything. Again, it was 1998. A pair of graduate students launched a search engine. They called it Google. Suddenly, any question you had, any fact you couldn't remember, any name on the tip of your tongue, was just a few keystrokes away. And researchers started asking, what is the internet actually doing to human memory? In 2011, a team published a landmark study in Science magazine. The finding was striking. When people expect they can look something up later, they remember the content itself less, but remember where to find it more. Think about that. You stop storing the fact itself. You start storing the path to the fact. Your memory literally rewires itself around the tool. The researchers called it the Google effect. The internet had become an external memory system, like a shared hard drive the entire human species had connected to. There's a follow-up finding that's even more interesting to me. Using the internet to find information makes you more likely to use it again for the next question. In experiments, people who were told to Google the first set of questions were significantly more likely to Google the second. Easier set too. They also started their searches almost twice as fast, suggesting they barely even tried to consult their own memory first before turning to Google. None of this means Google made us stupid. It means Google changed the architecture of how we remember, exactly as writing and printing did before it. All right, here's the question you've been waiting for. Is AI actually different from all of that? And honestly, yes, in one meaningful way it is. Writing stored information. The printing press spread information. Search engines helped us locate information. But generative AI does something qualitatively new. It drafts, it summarizes, it compares, structures, explains, argues, and reasons. It steps into the middle of your thinking process itself, not just storage. That's the meaningful difference. Previous tools extended where knowledge lived. AI extends how thinking gets done. Different kind of outsourcing, different kind of question. I think that's why so many people feel more unsettled by AI than by Google. It's not just a faster library. It feels like it's inside the conversation. So is that feeling justified? Let me show you what the research actually says, because the data is more nuanced than either the optimists or the pessimists claim. The OECD studied generative AI in education. Their key finding: when students just outsource tasks to AI with no structure, performance looks better, but real learning doesn't increase. In other words, you can produce a well-written essay with AI while learning almost nothing about the actual topic. The output improves. The person doesn't, but, and this matters a lot, the same OECD report found that when AI is designed as a tutor, partner, or structured assistant, genuine learning actually improves. It's not the tool. It's how you use the tool, which, if you think about it, is the exact same thing Socrates was worried about with books. A Microsoft research team went even deeper. They surveyed 319 knowledge workers and analyzed 936 real-world cases of AI use across actual workplaces. They're finding people who were highly confident that AI could handle a task well-reported engaging in significantly less critical thinking themselves. Let that sink in. But people who were confident in their own ability to evaluate and critique the AI, they reported doing more critical thinking, not less. Fascinating, right? Let me translate that into plain language. AI makes a thinking person more powerful, and it makes a non-thinking person replaceable even faster. Both are true. The tool doesn't decide which one you become. You do. And that has always been the real question with every cognitive tool humans have ever created. So what does all this add up to? Let's zoom all the way out and put the complete story together, because I think it's actually kind of beautiful. Socrates worried about writing, but writing gave us civilization-scale memory, the ability to build on each other's ideas across thousands of years of human history. Printing was feared because it could spread wrong ideas as fast as right ones. But it also ignited science, democracy, and the Enlightenment across all of Europe. Calculators meant fewer mental arithmetic champions, but they enabled physics, engineering, medicine, achievements that would be flatly impossible without offloaded calculation. Google changed how we remember. We store less content, more navigation, but we now have access to more knowledge than any single human mind could hold. Every single time the exchange was the same. Give up one skill, gain access to a bigger world. The question was never whether to trade. It was what. And now with AI, the same exchange is happening again. We're handing over drafting, summarizing, structuring, explaining. In return, we get time and cognitive bandwidth. But what does that mean for the skills that remain? What gets more valuable, more rare and more precious, when AI handles more of the middle work? Not raw memorization, not calculation speed, not even drafting speed. What becomes rarer and more valuable is the ability to ask the right question first. Verification, judgment, knowing when the AI is confidently and completely wrong, deciding what actually matters, owning the conclusion. Those are the skills that remain irreplaceable. So the real question was never, will AI make us smarter or dumber? The real question is, what will you choose to hold on to, and what will you let go? In the era of books, the core skill was reading. In the era of search, it was finding. In the era of AI, it might be asking, verifying, and deciding. Socrates was half right. New tools do change what our minds actually do. They shift which mental muscles we exercise and which ones we rest. But he was also half wrong. Every time humans outsourced a piece of cognition, they didn't shrink. They expanded into something larger, more complex, more capable. The tools changed every generation. The anxiety stayed exactly the same, and so did the outcome. Humans adapted, and the world they built kept getting bigger. So maybe instead of asking, is AI making me dumber? Ask yourself what kind of thinker you want to be on the other side of all this change. That's a wrap for today. Socrates feared writing. We fear AI. Somewhere in between, every generation figured out how to think bigger. Maybe we will too.